Okay, I think we're good. Okay, the mics now work. Okay, the February 5th, 2026 meeting of the Corvallis School Board is now called to order at 6:32 p.m. to support the health and safety of all community members, particularly those who are immunocompromised and their families. The board continues to offer a virtual participation option for board members and district staff. Public comment is available at select meetings, both in person and virtually. Details on how to provide public comment are available on the Corvallis School District website. Tonight's agenda, board packet, and a link to the district's YouTube channel can be found on the school board page of the website. All public meetings are live streamed on YouTube, and recordings are typically posted the following day. Tonight we have Judah, Chris, Shauna, Therese, Bernie, and myself in attendance in person, and Sammy is in attendance virtually. As posted, the board met in executive or closed session at 5:15 p.m. under ORS 192.662D to consult with persons designated to carry on labor negotiations. There is no action. And the next item on the agenda is acknowledgement of Black History Month.
Mine's not either. Oh, yeah, it is.
Thank you, Chris. All right. Corvallis School District 509J, resolution number 21-0201, acknowledgement of Black History Month. Whereas the Corvallis School District recognizes and pays tribute to the significant contributions made in our community by Black and African American people, and
Whereas, in 1926, Black History Month grew out of the establishment of what was then called Negro History Week by Carter G. Woodson and the Association for the Study of African American Life and History. And whereas Black History Month was first proclaimed nationally in 1976 and has been celebrated annually ever since. And
whereas this nation was built upon the stolen labor of African peoples, and whereas the descendants of African people forcibly removed from their homes now live in diaspora, and whereas the state of Oregon has a documented history of anti-Blackness, and
whereas inequality and injustice still linger in our cities, states, and country, and it is the responsibility of citizens to advance the American notion of life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness for all. And whereas our diverse culture enriches and broadens the American experience of which Black and African American heritage is an inseparable part as it weaves throughout our country's history, profoundly influencing every aspect of our lives, and
No? How about this one? Okay. Whereas education is a necessary component for creating a more equitable and anti-racist community, nation, and world, and whereas the Corvallis School District has made a commitment to equity and anti-racism, and whereas the Corvallis School District has a responsibility to honor and respect the diverse histories of our community.
Therefore, let it be resolved by the Board of Education of the Corvallis School District, do hereby proclaim February 2021 as well as each February annually as Black History Month in the district, and strongly encourage families, staff, and community members to join in existing local celebrations, and encourage all schools in the district to help highlight this month in grade-appropriate ways, as well as highlight the contributions of Black and African American peoples to the local community, nation, and beyond, both historically and in current times. Adopted this day, 2021.
Thanks, everyone. And as a reminder, we reread the proclamations every year since they've been passed to reaffirm the district's commitments to what they say. And the next item on the agenda is board member reports. Does anybody have a report? Bernie?
Yeah, I had the pleasure of attending the Hands Across Corvallis event. I think a few of us did also. Again, I want to applaud the and point out the essential work of the Corvallis Schools Foundation in putting that together, and their efforts in bridging funding gaps and providing our students with enriched educational experiences. And I particularly look forward to meeting with their board next month, I think. So.
Therese, then Shauna, and then Chris and Judah.
Okay, and that's working. Thanks. Judah helped me fix it from afar. I was able to join the Garfield PTA and had a wonderful conversation with them about a wide variety of topics. I got to hear about their food pantry program, which was really exciting. And they have some really innovative ideas about how to better serve their community. What I really appreciated about that meeting was their recognition that many Garfield households have crossover with Linus Pauling. And so how can they collaborate together to support the whole household? I thought that was really a fantastic sentiment. And it was great. A couple of great conversations with community members as well. And it's always great when folks send us questions and are interested in having conversation. So please keep sending those. And because a one-on-one conversation is just so much more meaningful than 3 minutes of not being able to talk back with you after you have asked or made great statements. So thanks.
Sure, I'll echo Bernie really quickly in gratitude for the Hands Across Corvallis event put on by the Corvallis Public Schools Foundation, which really just highlights the amazing work the foundation is doing in partnership with the schools and the community that's contributing to the foundation, and how much the Corvallis community and beyond really care about enhancing and strengthening the educational opportunities that are happening for students. I also wanted to call out one other thing that actually wasn't a CSD sponsored event, but involved a lot of CSD students and community members. The Majestic Theater had The Outsiders recently, and to the best of my knowledge, this was actually the first youth-directed main stage play. So I wanted to congratulate Jax Kalber on directing and the incredible cast, which had many CSD students.
Just briefly to echo off Teresa, I had meetings with several community members since our last meeting, and I just really enjoy that. And sorry, people can see in real life how much coffee I drink if you ask me out. So.
Well, I have several, so please be patient. I also attended the foundation breakfast, and I just want to give a shout out to Sarah Devine and her team and what amazing job they're doing, and just her presentation, I thought, brought it real, like, to everybody. So I just wanted to compliment that. And then also our teacher, Matthew Criscione, that was on there, you could just tell that he was really speaking from the heart, and just his story was pretty amazing. There were tears everywhere. I also got to attend the CV versus CHS basketball games, and there was, I'll just say, a lot of spirit in the room that night. And I know it was a really close game, and anyway, it was just really positive to be able to attend that. I had the privilege of getting to sit in Kara Mudd's classroom. She came in here one day and invited us, and I was able to do that. And oh my goodness, they had a Socratic seminar based on a book they were reading, and just the conversations those kids were having were so rich and thoughtful and reflective, and I was just in awe the whole time I was sitting there. It was just really amazing what those kids are doing. I also got to go visit College Hill, and I got to walk through and see some of their CTE courses, the urban farm, and talk to some of their teachers. They're doing some great work with peace literacy and just really applying that to just everyday life and making those connections. I spoke to quite a few kids, and every single kid that I spoke to said, when asked what what do you like about College Hill? Every single one said the exact same thing. Well, not exactly, but close. They talked about independency, how their program is very independent, catered to them, and that they work at the level that they need to work at. They talked about the individualized attention they get and their connection with teachers. And they just went on. It was really a beautiful experience to just sit through there, talk to staff. They were talking about awards that they recognize kids, and lunchtime. I got to go through lunchtime, and they were a bunch of kids playing volleyball. And Eric Wright was telling me a lot of it has to do with the no phone policy, how much kids are like spending time talking and playing, volleyball or basketball or whatever. So I thought that was great. Time-wise, I'll share one more then. Oh, I noticed on the Celebrate Corvallis page, the big award night that's coming up, that our very own school rep, Thomas Sherry, is one of the persons nominated for the Future for Citizens Award. So that's pretty cool. And then just a real quick, I spoke to, actually Teresa and I went and spoke to Jay Harmon, who is a community member, lives out in Crescent Valley area. And we had a lovely talk with him about housing and some of the frustrations he's going through trying to annex his property, and how that could be a good thing for our district if he's able to do that. So we're working on that. So thank you.
Sammy, did you have anything?
Yeah, I just want to add my appreciation for my colleagues attending the Corvallis Public Schools Foundation breakfast. I apologize, and first time in a while I wasn't able to make it there. But I want to add one thing for anybody from the community who's listening to this. The Public Schools Foundation is the place where you can provide support directly to our students and the programs they're benefiting from. I really appreciate the school district and the foundation working together. And since we had from one to multiple meetings a year, every year over the course of the past years, their fundraising and their advocacy has been very strong. They are currently, or as a few days away, a few days ago, $10,000 away from reaching their goal of $128,000 for the Hands Across Corvallis goal. And that will bring them to the 10-year total of $1 million. So I just want to thank every community member who donated any amount from $1 or more toward that goal. And for those who are interested in supporting, you can write a check or donate online by visiting Corvallis Public Schools Foundation and their donation page. That will help us reach that goal, and appreciate the community who contributed to the school board goals. That's helped us really be consistent in asking what we need from the community and making sure we deliver on it in our school district.
Thanks, Sammy. And I'll share that I also went to Hands Across Corvallis, and it was I really appreciated hearing what was going on, how they highlighted the work that's happening with families navigating poverty there. Those videos are available on YouTube if folk are interested in seeing those. And they also highlighted some of the work that the La Raza teens worked on as well to contribute to the fundraiser the foundation was doing in the fall. So that was really a cool partnership to see from some of the local students. And then I also received a scholarship to be able to participate in the National School Board Association's Advocacy Institute in Washington, D.C. So I just got back like almost 11 p.m. last night. So if I seem tired, I probably am. So thanks for hanging there with me. And I will report on that during the next section of this agenda. So that's what I was been up to the last couple weeks. And that's everybody. So the next item on the agenda is the Oregon School Board Association and National School Boards Association updates. Sammy, I think you wanted me to report on. Did you have any highlights you wanted to point out, though, from... We only have 5 minutes, though, so just remember.
I have full confidence you'll fill the 5 minutes with lots of good updates from you, so I'll defer to you, Chair.
Thanks, Sammy. The first thing I would say is that I attended the OSBA board meeting January 23rd and 24th, which also includes their Legislative Policy Committee meeting. And that's a great opportunity to be able to represent our community in those meetings. And if you are interested, I added to the board agenda packet has the budget talking points on there, and there it talks about the impacts of HR 1 to the public funding for education here in the state. And it also has some thoughts about how to advocate for access to the Education Stability Fund at the state level. So if you're interested in seeing that handout, it is available, and fellow board members already seen that when they were looking at the packet. So I just wanted to share that one. And at the NSBA update, the biggest thing was the Advocacy Institute. I had never been to it, so I felt very fortunate to have that experience, and also to bring some of the stories of our community over there, the impacts of everything happening here in our district, and also to share highlights of the really strong work that teachers are doing and staff are doing as well. It wasn't just all like to share the bad things. We need to share the good stories of what happens in our district as well. And one of the things that there was a lot of things covered, actually. So I have a lot of pages of notes, and I'm just going to share a couple of quick ones for you all. There's a lot of things, a lot of shifts happening in the federal landscape that people need to be aware of with public education. And one of them is the shift for Title I into the Department of Labor from Education is a huge shift. And right now people are like, how are they even going to manage that program? Like, they don't know much about working with public education. They know things about labor issues, which can tangentially be related, but not always. That doesn't make sense. And there's also the Indian education programs are being moved to the Department of Interior out of education, for example, and we're a district that does receive that grant. And so there's a lot of questions about how that will impact eligibility. And there was conversations about the tax vouchers and the impacts that can have. They are allowing public education to participate in those, but it's not clear on how. And there's also no accountability to private education, and a ton of accountability on public education if people participate in that. And they cut education down about 15% in the fiscal year 26 budget. That's a lot, y'all. That's a lot of money. And it's down to the 2010 levels. And so that is some of the scary stuff going on. There was conversations around SNAP and Medicaid cuts, and how it could have the potential to terminate free meal programs due to lack of money and eligibility. It could be by impacting formula funding. That won't happen here, but it could impact our funding we receive. And then Medicaid, it was shared, is the 4th largest source of funding for K-12, which is a significant amount of funding. And so the cuts there impact things like dental screenings and also more things. The other conversations, I'm running out of time. See, he was right. I will fill this whole 5 minutes up. I will slow it down and just say that the things that are happening at the federal level is actually really alarming, and being out there and seeing it firsthand was very emotional for me, because I know what's happening here because of and I know what's coming. And so when there's fewer federal dollars going to the states, that means there's less state dollars, and that means more cuts trickling down to local governments. And these aren't things that are theoretical, are things to try to panic our community or everybody. There are things that are already happening. There's dates associated with all of these changes, and they are coming. And I just want our community to really remember that, and my colleagues on the board to pay attention to that and remember that we have to be prepared for what's coming ahead. And I don't want people to think I'm trying to cause a widespread panic, like I said, but it is seriously alarming what's happening to public education at the federal level. And I think we all need to do whatever we can to protect what's left of it right now and not let it get worse. there's a whole lot of stuff with also with IDEA, which is assist students with disabilities as well. I'm happy to, I have pages and notes if anybody ever wants to, board members or community members want to hang out with me and chat about it, happy to do that at any time, but I'm over time 30 seconds, so thanks for the extra 30 seconds on that topic. And I'm going to hand it over to Ryan for the superintendent's report.
All right. So I have a couple of things to highlight. The first is that this is National School Counselors Week. We are fortunate to have school counselors in all of our buildings who do everything from provide individual student support to class lessons to help prepare students for their future, making sure that they have the credits they need and the avenues to move on into other aspects of their lives. So if you know one of our school counselors and have the opportunity to just thank them, Leo can do that tomorrow at school for us. We want to make sure that they know that we appreciate them. Also, as was noted, February is Black History Month. And one of the things that I want to highlight is that our district is a partner in the African American and Black Student Success Grant from the Oregon Department of Education. We've provided some information out recently through social media and through our website about some of the work that's happening there. But I think it's an opportunity for us to take take the resolution to action and to highlight some of those aspects of things that are happening in our schools and for our students. Also, February is Career and Technical Education Month. So we're also highlighting our CTE programs across our district. We did our first recognition today on social media, and it was highlighting both our high school ceramics class in a partnership at Mountain View where students created their pet pals in 1D. And they came back in 3D ceramics, real life for kids to take home with them, which was a super cool activity and event at Mountain View that included ice cream, nonetheless. So again, we'll continue to highlight those programs. Also, we're still looking for volunteers for our 11th graders. Every year do a student career fair at OSU. It includes the opportunity to hear about different areas of the world of work. They also have the opportunity to practice interviewing and for folks to look over their resume. It's at LaSalle's, and it is on Tuesday, March 17th. It is a great way to give back, and also it's really cool to be able to actually sit with students and have them practice their interview skills because you learn so much about them. And so it's a great opportunity if you have the time. Also, I know my organization, COSA, is planning an advocacy day in Salem on February 17th. I believe OSBA is participating in that as well. So I plan to be in Salem, again, advocating for the dollars we need for our budget and also bills that are underway in the short session. So if you're able to, I believe you can still sign up for that day. There's an opportunity to get some training in addition to being able to meet with our electeds. So it is a great opportunity. And then our grad rates just came out recently, and we had strong graduation rates across our district. One of the groups I'm really proud of is students with disabilities. That was the highest grad rate for that group of students that we've seen at 87%. And I want to recognize the teams at CHS, CV, and at College Hill for helping students to get past that key threshold in life. And that has, for a number of years, that ranged in the 60s to 65%. And so this is a huge increase and just something to be proud of. And then finally, before we get to information about consolidation, Footloose. If you haven't seen the signs around town for the upcoming theater production at CHS, make sure to buy your tickets. This year they're doing a special event, a VIP night, where they're having a retro diner experience for folks before the show, and you get to meet the cast, and you leave with a swag bag. So that's something that they're trying for the first time as well. So anyhow, just lots of great things going on in the district, things to be proud of, and folks to recognize. And then Kim's going to bring up a slide deck. Do you want to go to the next one? So just again, like I did last month, just to bring forward some things that are currently underway. So tomorrow is the last day for our staff to complete the preference for placement forms. Those have been out for a while before winter break, and so that closes tomorrow. Around programming, we just completed a staff survey for feedback related to programming for 26-27. That information is being reviewed, and then we plan to present some information to all of you at the board meeting on February 19th. So Byron and a team of educators will come and share that information with you. Facilities and transportation. We are finalizing our move coordination and planning there. Our move coordination will start with leadership on Tuesday, sharing how that's going to go and the steps that are going to take place. And then also our transportation department is working on a first draft of the bus routes, and they are open to having opportunity for feedback on that, answering questions, because that will be their first draft, and it's a good opportunity to learn more from community and the needs there. Student transitions. We made some adjustments that we shared last Friday in our April conference days. It allows for a community open house. It allows for staff to be in their new location and have an opportunity to be with the staff they'll be with for the 26-27 school year. Also, transition meetings will be happening those days, supporting the transition of students and student needs. And again, that new staff meet and greet. And then transfers, we have that transfer window is opening up on Monday, and we have gone on the website and updated some language based on questions we've been receiving. And then this is a fun one. Staff from Sheldon and Linus Pauling have been developing a plan and timeline for students to actively participate in creating a school mascot and color scheme. We had thought that that might be something that would need to wait till the fall, but the school counseling teams and staff have really gotten into it. And so we'll have a presentation by some students on March 20th, sharing, there won't be an official reveal that night, so I don't want to get your hopes up too high, but there will be an opportunity for them to come and talk about their process. And that's the updates for, in terms of the consolidation process and how we move forward.
Questions? Shauna?
Yeah, I just have a quick one. Ryan, thank you so much for the update. One of the things you mentioned is that on February 19th, the final version of the model will be presented to the board.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just curious when that information, aside from the board meeting, will go out to families and how.
Yeah, it will go out right after that. Yeah.
Any other questions? Judah?
That February 19th meeting, is that when we're going to expect to have information about what sixth grade is going to look like at the elementary schools?
That kind of information will be included in that.
Okay, I've promised some fifth graders that we're going to get them that information ASAP, so
All right.
I'm excited to see it.
That's the date.
Any other questions? Okay. Thanks, Ryan, for the updates and everything. I did fail to mention the advocacy day in the updates, so thanks for mentioning that. And also I forgot to say that there's handouts that I brought back from DC for everybody, and I asked Kim to load those, so they'll be loaded to board book if there's community members that would like to see it. So the whole packet that was actually left with senators and Congress people when we met with them as well. So it has the main points and then talking points and also the ask, and so it's nicely done. Thanks NSBA for those handouts. Okay, the next item on the agenda is public comment. We will now open the public comment period. We value the lived experiences of students, families, staff, and the community, and welcome public comment as an essential part of the district and board's work. The complete guidelines for public comment are available at the registration table outside the boardroom entrance and on the board's website. I will now share some important points. When it is your turn to speak, please come forward, take a seat, and direct your comments to the board. Speakers may offer objective criticism of district operations and programs, but the board will not hear complaints concerning individual district personnel. As a reminder, you will have 3 minutes to make your comments. And when you come up here, make sure this light's red. And if it's not, there's a little button with a person to turn it on, just to remind everybody of how the mics work. And then the little timer on the front table will be green when your 3 minutes starts. And at 30 seconds, that yellow light turns on. And when it turns red, I'm going to have to ask you to conclude, and that's the end of your time. And so that's something I like to remind people of at the beginning. Following your comments, the board will have 3 minutes to ask clarifying questions, but are not able to engage in conversation. Again, that is a difficult part because we like having conversations and we're not able to do back and forth questions, and we're able to answer the clarifying questions, and that's it. If board members would like to revisit a topic or issues brought up during public comment, they may do so at the appropriate time in the agenda. Before you start your comments, please state your name for the record and state whether you reside within the school district boundary. And I checked in with Kim just for the board. This is a for you all comment. There's about 24 minutes worth of public comment without questions. And so I would like to ask the board to be mindful when you're asking questions about amount of time spent leading up to the question. Does that make sense? Okay, I'm not saying you can't ask questions, but I just wanted to remind, and we will have to do a check-in to see where we're at as usual, because we only have 20 minutes. That is generally assigned, but we'll check in on that. So, Kim, go ahead. It's not on.
Do you want to push it down?
Is that one turned off? Oh, there it goes.
My name is Ray Shimabuku. I reside at 715 Northwest Conifer Boulevard. Last fall, I participated in the public meeting at Letitia Carlson regarding proposed consolidation of schools. My concern was the poor water quality of Mountain View School, the only school in the district not on the Corvallis municipal system. Over 25 years ago, my sons attended Mountain View during my career with the EPA lab in Corvallis. During my tenure as Mountain View PTA president, we faced an issue with coliform bacteria and some fixtures with lead. Initial remediation was by providing trucked-in drinking water. I also attended but was not able to present at the school board meeting last October. I, however, sent an email to the board dated October 18th regarding my concerns. In that email, I shared the last full water testing of Mountain View School in August of 2023 and a comparable study in 2022 for Letitia Carlson. The lead test revealed that the Letitia Carlson was vastly superior. Important to note that none of the Letitia Carlson fountains or bottle fillers exceeded the lower Corvallis threshold. I'm currently emailing an unabridged version of this presentation to you, where I again explained the reference to the Corvallis threshold of 1.4 part per billion lead, which is 10 times lower than the action EPA level of 15 parts per billion. I was astonished by the most recent water analysis from Mountain View dated Tuesday, December 16th, with a robust study of 76 samples. 56 of the samples exceeded the Corvallis threshold, of which 9 samples exceeded the EPA threshold. Even more remarkably, of the 21 fountain and bottle fillers tested, 8 exceeded the EPA threshold with an average of 21 parts per billion. An additional 5 exceeded the Corvallis threshold, but with a very high average of 11 parts per billion. This is a crisis. In view of the water quality issues that have more significantly manifested itself, I cannot understand not changing Mountain View with Letitia Carlson, rather than to resort to expensive...
Ray, I'm going to have to ask you to stop now at this point.
Okay, I'm
Thank you.
almost done.
I know, but I still need to ask you to use just 1 second. Does anybody have any questions? Go ahead, Shauna.
Mr. Shimabuku, do you have a few more remarks that you wanted to share?
It's very short. Without having to resort to expensive remediation of possible future litigation, I ask the school board, the district managers, and the community, is it your legacy that you have contributed to poisoning our youth?
Is there any other questions? Go ahead, Judah.
So we have recently heard about the lead, but you mentioned when your kids were at Mountain View, there was a different kind of bacteria.
Coliform.
When you reviewed the most recent water quality test, did you have any concerns also about that bacteria?
They don't report it. What they report is only lead that I was able to get from the school district. I did request from the school district if I can get access to more information.
So there's a completely different test for the coliform bacteria.
Yes.
Thank you.
Is there any other questions? Thank you, Ray, and thanks for understanding I had to do that.
Well, I
Sorry,
perfectly
yeah.
understand it. Thank you.
Is it Myra Valencia? Oh.
Pruebas y empiezas por tu nombre y dónde vives.
Ah, okay. Buenas tardes, mi nombre es Mayra Valencia y vivo en 1025 Northwest Lewisburg Avenue, aquí en Corvallis. Soy madre de 2 hijos, uno está en Linus Pauling y el otro está en CHS. Primeramente, me gustaría expresar mi gratitud a cada uno de ustedes en la mesa directiva por su servicio dentro y fuera de nuestro distrito escolar. He tenido la oportunidad de observar la manera en que sirven a nuestra comunidad y el trato con respeto y dignidad que les brindan, y eso significa mucho para nosotros. Eso también refleja mucho de su carácter y su corazón y su pasión de ustedes. Personalmente creo que se necesita más que cerebro para servir, se necesita corazón.
Good evening. My name is Mayra Valencia. I live in 1025 Northwest Lewisburg, Corvallis. I'm a mother of 2 kids. One is in Linus Pauling, the other in Corvallis High School. First, I want to express my gratitude. Your expression inside and outside of the Corvallis School District allowed us to observe the kind of service you provide. Respect out of your heart. It takes more than a brain to lead this school district. It takes a heart.
Segundo, quisiera pedirles que sigan, por favor, apoyando nuestros diversos programas que tenemos por el momento, como por ejemplo el de doble inmersión, ya que esos aseguran que cada uno de nuestros estudiantes tengan la misma oportunidad para tener una educación exitosa.
Second, I want to highlight the importance of following up important programs such as dual immersion. Dual immersion is a precise symbol of equity for everyone to pursue, every student to pursue the quality of academic education they need.
Y por último, quiero decirles que ustedes no están solos, que yo y nuestra comunidad los apoya. Recordemos que para tener buenas escuelas necesitamos buenos padres y también una buena mesa directiva. Y yo sé que la tenemos y confío en ustedes.
And third, and most important, you are not alone. I and everyone in my community are supporting you to have good schools. It's also needed to have good parents and a good board be supported by the parents.
Y sé que tenemos una buena mesa directiva.
And I'm certain that we have a great board.
Gracias.
Thank you.
Gracias.
Todavía no te vayas por si te
Ah,
preguntan.
no. Ah, perdón.
And
Sorry.
preguntas, questions? Gracias, Myra.
Gracias.
Kim, just for procedural, when there's translation, isn't there more minutes?
Yeah.
Okay, that's why I just wanted to, yeah, thanks.
Christine Liddell.
Is it? Okay. Okay. Thanks. Good evening. My name is Christine Lodel. I do reside here. I'm here to talk about bias incidents. I hold several different roles. I'm a special education teacher at Sheldon Middle School. I'm part of my school's equity team. I'm a union representative for my building. And more importantly, I'm a mom of 3, one at Bessie Coleman, Sheldon, and CV. My youngest child is Black. Over the past 3 years, he has been called the N slur multiple times at school. Sadly, as a teacher, I know his experience is not unique. Last year, another student used that slur towards him repeatedly over the course of several weeks. A bias incident report was filed. I was notified right away. The school responded with intent. The other student received instruction on what that word meant, why it carried so much harm, and how it impacted my child. There was follow-up. There was growth. And months later, there was even the beginning of a friendship. It wasn't perfect, but it was better. And my son felt safer. That process worked. But that is not what happens when a bias incident report is filed against a staff member. Currently, there's no clear language in the district policy or the contract requiring parents to be notified when their child is involved in a bias incident investigation if the person accused is a staff member. I have seen cases where a staff member or a student files a bias incident report on behalf of a student with a disability. Many of these students are unable to communicate at home at what's going on at school. The families trust us to tell them. We need clear district-wide language that has been negotiated with the teachers union about when and how family partners will be notified about bias incidents that involve their child and a staff member. When a bias is found, that staff member may receive a letter of expectation that goes into a file, and often that's where the story ends. Letters accumulate, and we miss an opportunity for real change. As a teacher, I deeply believe that people can learn and grow. I've seen it, and that second grader who struggled with my son, he learned and grew, and staff can too. My middle child is non-binary and has experienced gender bias in class. When a teacher divides the students into boys and girls and just motions to suggest which group they think my child belongs in, I truly don't believe their intent is to harm my child, but that impact exists. I'll try to skip to the end. So I'm asking for 2 things. First, that parents are notified when a bias incident investigation involves their child. And second, that administrators are explicitly allowed to assign supportive, non-disciplinary training that would benefit a staff member's growth.
Christine, I gotta ask you to stop. Sorry.
That's okay.
Is there any questions? Go ahead, Chris.
Do you have something you want to just finish up
It's
your
like
points?
so small, I promise. Okay.
Please do.
It's not about punishment. It's about consistency and transparency and believing that adults, like children, can learn when we give them the right tools. Our students deserve to feel welcomed, our families deserve communication, and our staff deserve a chance to grow. Thanks.
Is there any other questions? Thank you, Christine. Or did you raise your hand? Sorry. Teresa has a question.
I just wanted to know if you could repeat that second recommendation.
Oh, that administrators could assign training for teachers to follow up. So if it's something like in the area of gender bias, that they could have something to give them a better idea. I think there's a lot of like, don't say that again, but it really can be hard to apply that when we have so many great resources. It'd be great to give teachers that opportunity.
Sammy?
Yeah, thank you. Really appreciate what you shared, and I would like to ask you if you would be willing to provide follow-up, not necessarily on language for negotiation, because we can't really do that at this forum. However, any possible recommendations on our Every Student Belongs policy, ACB, or any other policy that you see might be applicable for what you shared? Would appreciate maybe any recommendations there, and just want to say thank you.
Yeah, so I think that the board is in charge of the bias incident complaint procedures. Is that part of the district or board policy? So that's where I looked to find some more language about what applies to the staff members, and it has really nice guidance when it's a child, and the staff members are really only referred to as like, you saw an incident and here's how you're going to help take care of everybody. There's not a lot of information there when it comes to what like an administrator or somebody else should do if the complaint is against a staff member. In the contract, it just says bias. There's like 2 lines that say bias incidents will be dealt with like complaints, and complaints don't really speak to family communication or follow-up training for teachers. So that's just a big gap. So I am hoping that you all could make changes to the policy that you have before you, and then I plan on sending an email
Thanks,
tomorrow.
Christine, sorry.
No, that's fine.
That's the time for questions too. Thank you so much for your time.
Joe Moses.
Good evening. I just want to start by saying, do I need to get closer? By saying thank you. There's always limited resources, and I don't think you guys asked to be put in this position, but I'm grateful that you've taken some hard steps towards consolidation so that necessary reductions in quantity can help maintain the quality for our students. I'm sure none of these decisions have been easy. My family's been a part of this district for nearly 20 years. My wife has taught here for many of those years. Excuse me. And as parents, we currently have a child at Garfield and then another one up to bat next fall. I'm here as a parent simply to, I guess, just who believes deeply in what our schools can offer our children. I think many of us can remember a teacher who made school feel safe or exciting when we were young. For a lot of people, that memory comes from elementary music classroom, the place where kids might still be figuring out reading or math. Suddenly, I think they feel connected and maybe seen for the first time. I think music is often where students first experience that joy and confidence in school. Later, maybe they'll fall in love with science and math, but sometimes music is what keeps them connected until they can get to that point. For many kids, school music is the only consistent access to the arts. There's families with resources that can sometimes get lessons or have other access. But for others, the music class is where creativity and collaboration and belonging can start. Keeping that access feels closely connected to the district's commitment to equity and making sure opportunity isn't determined, by their circumstances. I also see how music helps students feel excited to come to school and to connect to their classmates. Right now, I think that's something that feels especially important as schools are merging and changing. It's not about choosing music instead of academics. It's about keeping learning joyful and engaging so students are ready to learn in all the classes. Last year, music was reduced from twice weekly to once weekly, and I'd respectfully ask the board to consider restoring elementary music to twice weekly again. Even that small increase can make a meaningful difference in the continuity, confidence, and the access that all our students would get. Thank you for listening and all that you guys do to support our kids.
Thank you. Is there any questions from the board? Sam?
May I ask the speaker to state their name for the record? I'm not sure if it was recorded.
Sorry, my name's Joe Moses.
I thought he did.
Sure.
Is there any other questions? Thanks, Joe.
Thanks.
Heather Louderback.
Hi, I'm Heather Louderback. I'm a parent in the district. First, I want to express my appreciation, particularly around the recent resolution that you have put forth about rights of undocumented students. I was impressed by the care and thought put into ensuring continued protection for students and our community. That commitment matters. Thank you. I also want to acknowledge the December discussion about the budget committee participation. Several board members spoke to the value of diverse perspectives, even when opinions differ. I appreciated those who emphasized inclusion and the importance of welcoming a range of voices. As you know, the board's role is to set policy, approve budgets, ensure accountability, represent the community's interest. And while many factors affecting the district, such as economic conditions or low birth rates, are outside of any of our control, others are within it. I'd like to focus on an area where the district has an opportunity to strengthen its long-term planning, understanding, and responding to enrollment trends. Over the last 4 years, the number of students transferring out of the district has increased annually. So from 2022 to 2026, each year, 78, 81, 105, and 117 students had transferred outside of our district. This steady rise matters. What concerns me the most is hearing from families I personally know who choose other districts and schools, and that learning that none of them were reached out to ask about their experience or reasons for leaving. No exit interview, no questionnaire, no follow-up. This represents a missed opportunity for insight. While many factors influencing enrollment are outside of our control, how we gather and use information is within your control. And without collecting basic feedback from families who leave, we limit the ability to identify patterns and make informed decisions. To support clear understanding and better long-term planning, the board might consider one of the following approaches. 1, establish an exit feedback process. 2, develop an enrollment insight policy. 3, request an annual enrollment review report. For example, an exit feedback process could be implemented in a straightforward and respectful way. Families who leave could receive a short online form or brief follow-up call offering them a chance to share their experience. Even small amounts of consistent data would provide meaningful insight into trends that directly impact planning, resource allocation, and student outcomes. Taking steps toward more consistent data gathering and analysis is an important part of building a strong, stable, and sustainable future for our district.
Thank you. Is there any questions from the board? Therese?
Thank you. So in order to be able to read my handwriting later, I couldn't write fast enough to get the 3 or 4 things that you said. And I'm wondering if you can just share that with us digitally.
Yeah, I gave it to him.
Oh, fantastic. Okay, never mind. You're already ahead of me then. And then you don't have to repeat them right now.
That's fine.
Thank you.
Is there any other questions from the board? Bernie?
Yeah, just a little bit clarification of the exit survey. Would it also paint a better picture if we also ask the question of the people transferring into the district or returning after transferring?
I think that's a great idea.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions? Thank you,
you.
Heather, for your time.
Hi, my name is Amy Holte. I'm a parent of 3 kids. 2 are in the district right now. We live in the KJH boundary, and so our youngest is at Garfield, and then our middle one is at Linus Pauling. And next year, our oldest will be at CHS. And I'm here tonight to ask you guys to form an advisory committee to improve school food. So we have a petition currently circulating in the past few weeks, which has already gained hundreds of signatures from parents and community members in the district. And the problem, as we see it, is the heat and serve model that we're currently using for food, for breakfast and lunch at all the schools, which leads to quite a bit of non-local, prepackaged, highly processed, and a lot of sugar, especially in the breakfast foods. And so by forming an advisory committee, we would like to focus on appropriate pathways to prioritize fresh, whole foods with minimally processed, low sugar ingredients. And we have proposed 2 options. One is to switch to contract food services. For example, in the Albany School District last spring, they switched to a company called Genuine Foods to address the problems that we're having here. Second option would be to follow other Oregon school districts such as Ben, Umatilla, I hope I pronounced that right, and Bethel school districts to reopen each individual school kitchen to do more on-site homemade foods for the children from scratch, prepared for many items. So for example, Bend has implemented this model, and about 85 to 90% of their food is made from scratch. So and people signing the signature would like to see that as a goal that we work towards. We want locally sourced ingredients as much as possible, and some of these programs are subsidized through farm to school programs and grants. That's all I have to say. So I would like for you guys to form an advisory committee to help move this forward.
Thank you. Is there any questions from the board? Brittany and then Therese.
Do you have a recommendation on who should be in the committee and how many?
I don't know how, I've never looked into previous, that was my personal timer, so I didn't go over time, about how the committees usually work. So I don't know the range. I would think that, Kim Patton and Lauren Wolf would be on it. I know that the finances is a major factor in these decisions, so I would think Lauren should be on it. Maybe Kathy. I think probably at least 1 or more school board members should be on it, and I think several parents should be on the board.
Any other questions? Therese said that was her question too, just for that way for folk who didn't hear that, since I called on you. Yeah. Okay, go ahead, Chris.
Thank you for that great presentation. When you looked at other school districts that have done this, have they, did you look at their process? Did they start with an advisory board and looking at, it sounds like you did some financial comparisons as well. Was that all part of the work with those districts?
Those are some great questions, and I think that probably an advisory committee could explore some of those answers if that was relevant to a process for the Corvallis School District to move forward.
Okay, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Any other questions? Thank you for your time, Amy.
Okay, thank you.
And Kim, just 1 second. Bye, Leo. We're at time for public comment. How many are left? Is the board okay extending time for a public comment for the last 2?
Dave Sullivan.
My name's Dave Sullivan. I'm the president of Oregon Advocates for School Trust Lands. And school trust lands are about as well understood as educational service districts, which means not at all. The more important thing for you to know is that my daughters, Mary and Molly, went through the Corvallis School District. They're alive and well, and they're adults, and I'm very happy with that whole process. Even more importantly, I was on the Corvallis School Board in the late 1990s. This room is a room I've been in a lot. Very little has changed. The microphones still don't work well. People still don't like the food, okay? And my best guess is that you still don't have a printing press and you don't have the money to do all the nifty things that people would like you to do. So what I'm here to tell you is that we have a real success and an opportunity to be able to increase Corvallis School District budget and increase the budgets of all of the other school districts in the state. And it's directly related to school trust lands and Oregon's constitutional promises to students and schools. And what we had last year in the Corvallis High School was the Court of Appeals came and listened to our Oregon Advocates for School Trust Lands lawsuit against the state saying, hey, you're not managing school trust lands for schools, you're doing it for a bunch of other stuff, which makes no sense. I mean, I go absolutely nuts. And then on top of that, Oregon passed a constitutional amendment around 2000 that said that they would fund schools at a quality education model, or the legislature would vote and write a report about why they didn't do it. And they haven't done either of those things. So why am I here today? Well, last week, the Court of Appeals wrote a ruling that would be just like as if I sat down and wrote it myself. I mean, they said, students have an interest and they can be plaintiffs and school boards can be plaintiffs, and this goes forward. And so we have the opportunity to tell the legislature, hey, you have to actually do your job. You have to follow the Constitution. And so I've written up a bunch of stuff, and you can read it later. It concludes two parts. First part, I want to work with Superintendent Noss to talk to U.S. history classes about the same kind of thing, because I think that our students ought to know about the victory for them. And the second part is I'd like Corvallis School District to be a co-plaintiff with the other school districts we already have. And none of these things are things that can be really discussed in 3 minutes. So I'm going to ask that you put on a work session or add an actual agenda item so that we could deal with this in more detail. I did it just right on time.
Wow, that was perfect timing.
I couldn't be happier. That was like 1 second.
Is there any questions from the board, Judah?
Yes, Dave, if there are people, like, say in this audience who are listening who might not be on the school board that want to get involved with or to learn more, what's an easy way for them to do that?
You'd go to any AI program, or if you're old school, you'd go to Google and you would ask about Oregon Advocates for School Trust Lands. And that's got a whole website that has this kind of stuff. And in fact, if a parent went there or a student, there's a student sign-up form that they can sign up to be a student plaintiff in our lawsuit. And I'd love to have lots of plaintiffs that are students, because I really think the Corvallis effect of having students in the audience with the Court of Appeals helped get the ruling that we needed.
Thank you. Any other questions, Therese?
Thank you. I didn't really know very much about this before, but after we got your email, I looked up your book. And so, which is really informative, a little bit over my head, but really informative. Maybe actually a lot over my head, but really informative. I guess my question is just, what would you recommend as a resource if people want to get their bearings about what you're talking about?
Number one is there's a booklet called The Magnificent Endowment that is written at the national level, because this is not a problem that is partisan. They have the same problem in Wyoming and in Montana, although in Wyoming and Montana, you've got Republicans in charge. And guess what the Republican politicians are doing? They're giving grasslands and water rights to ranchers because the ranchers vote in the Republicans. And in Oregon, we've got Democrats, and guess what they're doing? They're giving carbon sequestration credits to environmental groups because that votes in environmental people. This is not Democrat, it's not Republican, it's stealing from children. And if there's a little bit of emotion in that, it's because it's wrong. It's wrong in Montana, it's wrong in Wyoming, and it's wrong in Oregon. School trust lands should be for schools. So, sorry if I probably shouldn't be using hate speech or whatever you want to label it, but this is something that is important to me, and it's important because I know that Mary and Molly got a good education, and you can't do, I mean, you don't have a printing press. You can't handle all of the issues that are associated with this without getting the state to at least do its constitutional duty.
Okay. Thank you so much, Dave.
Hello, my name is Erica Cheney. I'm a resident. I have 2 students, and I'm an employee of the school district. I wanted to first report about a fabulous day in Salem today. I got to go and heed your call to try and advocate for school funding for monies for education at the state level. We had a great time. Several of the union members went with me, and we got to talk to our senator's staff today, which was great. It's a fantastic opportunity, and I really would like to reiterate that call to action for our community members. They're all terribly approachable, and it can be a really fun experience, and it was an amazingly beautiful sunny day, and it was a lot of union folks coming together and celebrating union power and trying to advocate for the causes that we all believe in. The second thing I wanted to speak to tonight has been expressed very lovingly, beautifully, words are failing me, by several parents this evening, and I really just want to continue to express the fact that I have watched this and iterations of this board over the past 10 years that my kids have been in the school district, really care about the students, all of the students, the least privileged students whose parents may not be able to make it to board meetings or make it to events because of any number of reasons. And I just want to applaud that and to say that I see it. And it is really appreciated that there are thoughtful and compassionate people on this board and within our district working and trying their darndest to make sure that all of our students succeed and that all of them have a place to be safe, because sometimes school is the safest place for those kids. And that, I think, was my first experience coming to the board meeting. Was one day when we had one of the presentations was about the homelessness problem that students face in our district. And it was quite a shock to me. I mean, if I really thought about it, I probably knew that it was there, but there are many, many things that I know that you all consider that we may not see because we can't put in the time.
I was about to have to thank you for cutting yourself off. I hate doing that. Is there any questions? Go ahead, Chris.
I kind of have 2, but my first one is, did you get to finish your last, do you want to finish your last comment?
I didn't really come prepared tonight, so we'll say that was the end.
Great. My question then also is, I would think for other parents, it's kind of scary to go to Salem and advocate. What would you say to the other parents that might say, I don't know if I can do this, from your experience today?
My favorite way to do it is to take a buddy and take your kids. I've gone with my kids and with friends' kids, and we have had a fantastic time showing up and talking to folks. I mean, we got to schedule it, but it's a heck of a lot of fun, and it's a great day trip. Make a day trip out of it. Like, do the whole thing. Go grab lunch in Salem and enjoy a lovely day and go to the Riverside Park and, take a moment. They're people just like you and I, and they know that you can't know everything about all of the various policies because nobody can do that.
Great. Thank you.
Any other questions? I have a question for you. How did you find out how to do the schedule of the meeting?
Well, so because I'm a union member, the union organized some stuff, and so we got to go, and the whole thing was planned. There was SEIU was there, AFSCME. I can't think of all of the other collections of letters, and it was just a great time. So, but if you have your rep's email or contact information, you can schedule a meeting with them. So.
Awesome, thanks. Any other questions? Thank you, Erica, for your time. Okay. And hearing no further comments, the public comment period is now closed. I wanted to say thank you to everybody that came in and provided public comment, and thanks to the board for extending our time to allow us to hear everybody. Would you entertain a break at this time? We're going to take a break and then we'll get back to our next item. Okay, we're ready to get started, everyone. Thank you for your patience as we took a short break. The next item on the agenda is a math update, and we have a lovely panel of staff to talk to us this evening. Do you all have a presentation? I think too. I did say math update.
Yep, we do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Me? Oh, I was confused. Sorry. It is the math update. Judah has the wrong agenda. Okay, thank you.
All right. Are we good? Okay. Hi, my name is Byron Bethards. My pronouns are he, him, and I'm the Director of Student Growth and Experience.
I'm Jen Bomaso. My pronouns are she, they, and I am the K-12 Math TOSA for the school district.
Hi, I'm Jared Callis. My pronouns are he, him, and I am 7th and 8th grade math teacher at Sheldon Middle School.
Hi, I'm Kim Johnson. My pronouns are she, her, and I am the middle school coordinator.
All right, so we are here this evening to talk about a few things with you. What I want to highlight is we're going to talk mainly about 7th and 8th grade math programming. We have been working through lots of different district teams as we've worked on planning for next year and implementation of programs at all of our schools. And so this is a highlight for 7th and 8th grade. That means it's for both K-8 schools and the junior high. So our goal in our short time with you right now is to review some of our math data and trends. We want to reaffirm our math instruction philosophy, and then we're going to talk about our updates to our 7th and 8th math programs.
All right, so pulling this closer. First, I want to say I want to be over there pointing at the graph and not right here, so I'm going to struggle with this a little bit. So thank you for your patience in advance. So I want to start with this graph. So this is our OSAS, that is the state test. And this is our data for 8th graders since the test started in 2014-2015 of all of our 8th grade students. So the blue line is Corvallis School District % of students that are passing that assessment, and the red line is the state average. So you can see in general we had a decreasing trend before and through COVID, and in the last 2 years we've seen growth in the number of the % of 8th grade students passing this assessment. In conversations with the state, specifically from 2022 to the 2022-2023 school year to the 2023-2024 school year, we had our students showed a statistically significant increase as compared to the state growth in recovering from COVID. All right, so there's been some recent legislation that's going to require districts to report 8th grade scores. And the state created comparator groups and clusters. So this is Corvallis School District's group. We have been put with the highest scoring districts in the state, which is exciting. That's because of our performance, as well as other factors. And I think it's important to highlight on this slide, if we look at our ever English learners, our students experiencing poverty, and our students experiencing mobility, that we have about twice as much or more than twice as much in those three categories as the top performing districts in the state. And so despite us having more students in those groups, we are performing at this level. And that is a testament to the amazing work that our teachers are doing and the programs that we have to support students who are experiencing those obstacles in their education. So this graph is OSAS proficiency in 8th grade, again, over time. The blue bars are the Corvallis School District % of students meeting. The red line, and then shaded below the red line, shows the state average. And then the other districts in our comparator group are shown in different colors there. And so here I just want to highlight that Corvallis School District is in the middle of this pack that is the upper echelon of school districts in our state in 8th grade. The next slide shows our 7th grade. And you can see 7th grade has rebounded even better than 8th grade has thus far. And on this one, I want to highlight that last year, our 7th grade students, we had the 3rd highest percent of students passing OSAS in 7th grade across the 80 largest school districts in our state. So the very top line up there is a relatively small school district and is grouped with smaller districts. So 3rd in the state in 7th grade last year. Again, our teachers are doing phenomenal work to get our students there. Okay, so we also look at a lot of different data and subgroups because we have the picture overall, but then we want to look at specific subgroups. And one of those is students who are scoring in level 1. So that's the lowest scoring group of students. They're showing the least math knowledge. Prior to the pandemic, we saw that increasing. We had more and more of our students were falling into that lowest category. This graph shows the last 4 years. So if you're looking at the red there, you can see they're relatively consistent. Statistically, we would say we're at a plateau. There's slight changes in numbers of the level of the red, but we're not really going up or down. So that's better than having our red go up, which is where we were, but we want to continue to decrease the number of students that are in that subgroup. One of the things that we did this school year is we added 2 math intervention classes at the middle school level, and those are slated to stay in place with next year's model. And this is data that we continue to review and look at how are the systems that we have put in place working, what do we need to change, et cetera. All right, this graph is a little confusing. So this came from the state, and this, the light green line is the Corvallis School District. And one of the important things about this graph is that each point on there is a 3-year average, and that is done to mitigate for cohorting effects. So if you have a cohort that's really high or a cohort that's really low, as we look across time, that can skew our data, and it's more difficult to see what our programs are actually producing because we have this anomaly of a group moving through our system. So each point on there is an average of 3 years, so we can really focus in on how are our programs and our instruction impacting what students are doing. So this is the 60 largest districts in the state. The state took all of the 180 to 200 school districts and broke them into 2 groups, the 60 largest, which Corvallis falls in, and then broke that into 3 groups. The purple line is the 20 lowest scoring or lowest performing districts. The blue dashed line is the 20 average school districts, and the green dashed line is the 20 highest scoring school districts. And then the light green line is the Corvallis School District. So important to note here, we can see there's in general a downward trend from 3rd grade through 8th grade. But in Corvallis, we have been bucking that system from 5th grade to 7th grade. We are actually increasing significantly the percent of students who are meeting OSAS. And this, again, is not one cohort coming through, but an average of 3 years of cohorts. So the pedagogy that teachers are using, the solid curriculum that we have adopted, and the systems and programs that we have in place, we're seeing a lot of positive things with our students on that one. Okay, so this is mostly about 7-8, but I want to talk just briefly about how our students have been doing beyond that. How are they performing when they get into high school in advanced courses? So we have 3 different types of advanced courses in math in high school. So we have College Now courses. So these are courses students take at our high schools and get college credit for it. And just very briefly, if you see a Z after a number, that came out in the last few years, that those are credits that are accepted as that specific credit at all of the higher ed institutions in Oregon. So it doesn't become a math elective credit. It continues to be whatever math course that was, and it can be transferred within Oregon and a number of places outside of Oregon, but Oregon set policy that way. And then we have our AP courses, and so these students get college credit based on their score on the AP exams. And then a third option is our expanded options program, where students can take college courses that we do not offer on campus. For example, they could take Math 252Z or 253Z, which is Calc BC. And all three of these advanced course options have external rigor standards. The AP College Board sets what's in the AP courses and what's on the exam. The College Now courses were in partnership with a community college, and they set the level of rigor to pass that course. And of course, if you're taking a course at a college, it's at that level. So first, looking at our College Now, the dark blue bar is the number of enrollments in dual credit classes, so courses that students can get college credit for over the years. And then the lighter blue bar is the number of credits earned. So we see both of those have been increasing. And then the next one. So this is our AP exams. So if you ignore the colors for a second and just look at the bars, that's how many AP exams are being taken in math, physics, and computer science. And we put those together because those are all very math knowledge dependent. So we see that increasing. And then looking at the colors, that's the scores that students earned. So the red bar is a score of a 1, and those numbers didn't show up because the bars are so small. The orange bar is a score of a level 2. And then starting with the green bar and above, those are all scores that will earn students college credit for that course. And so it is also important to note, not only do we have more students taking these exams, but we have more students scoring at levels that they earn college credit for these exams. And I did not do a good job of citing the sources. This data is from the AP College Board. You don't need to go back, but the previous slide that had the credit at LBCC is from LBCC's data, and the OSAS data is from the Oregon Department of Education, is where that data has been coming from.
All right, so we've seen strength in our data, and we've seen increases in lots of areas. And we also know from community feedback, we know from other subgroup pieces of our data, and we know from feedback from our staff as well through some different surveying, and also from students through some of our student surveys. We know that there's also areas to improve in our math programming. I know when I reached out to a couple families that left a school a couple years ago, math was one of the reasons they had moved to a private school, and we talked about that. And so in our planning and in our timing of thinking about where we can go next with our programming in math, we've really centered on building our programs around academic rigor, equitable experiences with multiple entry points into pathways for students, and also systems that allow students to show mastery of that subject matter. And so you can go ahead, Kim, yeah, next one. And so as we've started to work on this plan, we've really focused in on our 7th and 8th grade model first to be thinking about really what is required for high school readiness and mastery of our state standards, moving through the sequence here. And so in our plans, we've been working on that, which our team here is going to share of where we're headed to next. But I wanted to point out one thing, which came in 2021. Is really the spotlight on data reasoning in the standards that go K-12. And so when we really think about our board goals and some of our pieces around real world application and learning, this is a key aspect of that. And this is embedded K-12 through our curriculum and instruction. And you'll start to see this really highlighted in these pathways that we talk about that we've been developing. So thinking about these pillars, thinking about our data and our feedback, we've developed a revised process and a revised way for pathways that lead to high school readiness that are based on these pillars. And so I'm going to turn this over to our team here to explain.
Okay, so what you see are, I'm a middle school teacher. I talk loud. So what you see are the framework for what our 7-8 math model is going to look like. I wouldn't say all the details are fully figured out yet, but what we're going to present on the next couple slides will all highlight ways that students are going to be successful in math in high school and beyond, and with the goal of when they finish 8th grade, they've either passed Algebra 1 already or they're ready to take algebra as 9th graders. So go ahead to the next slide. Okay, so standard pathway. This is very similar to what is being offered now. 7th graders are going to take a pre-algebra. 8th graders are going to take Foundations of Algebra and Foundations of Geometry, which currently is one class called Math 8. And then as 9th graders, they'd take Algebra 1. So yeah, that's the standard. Did we go to the next one? Okay. Enhanced pathway allows for grade 7 to take pre-algebra. And currently, in the beginning of grade 8, students can choose to take Algebra 1 for 8th grade math, where we essentially cover a year and a half of math, covering Math 8 standards and algebra standards. So we've broken that out to have Foundations of Geometry as a portion of those 8th grade standards. And this pathway allows for multiple entry points into that. You could do that portion of the 8th grade standards in 7th grade or in 8th grade and do algebra in 8th grade. So there it changes it a little bit in that you would have a starting point maybe a tad earlier, or you could wait till 8th grade. It kind of allows more student choice with multiple entry points. And then what that allows is, as a 9th grader, most likely students on this pathway would choose honors geometry and data reasoning as their 9th grade choice. Next slide. And then we have a third pathway that's a little bit accelerated that requires at the end of 6th grade year, they would take an assessment to be able to show proficiency in the 7th grade standards. So then when they enter 7th grade, they would be looking at doing Foundations of Algebra and Advanced Algebra, which is the Algebra 1 standards, and then also Foundations of Geometry. So then in 8th grade, they would be able to take a geometry class, with then 9th grade taking Honors Algebra 2 or another of the Math + 1 options. This is the same information presented so you can kind of see the different pathways all together, with the note under accelerated pathway that in order to do that track, you have to show proficiency in 7th grade standards. Anything else?
So our goal in this redesign and restructuring is really thinking about high school preparation for success. And if we think about mathematics education, thinking about how many entry points, like Jared was talking about, we can create for any student to enter to have these types of opportunities once they get to high school. Our goal is remaining the same, Algebra 1 readiness for all students, but the pathways to get there now are expanded with multiple options and multiple entry points to get to that place than we've had before. And really, when we think about this, this opens up the door to a lot of different high school options that are listed there. It also opens up the door to more college courses that can be taken in high school, like Calc BC. So really our point here is in our redesign, and as we start sharing in the weeks to come and the months to come with the redesign that we've been working on for our programs, you're going to see a lot of things about student-centered pathways that have options, standards-aligned curriculum and programs that are rigorous, that are based on our requirements, and then really a clear path for future focus. And so that is a difference here than we've seen in some of our programming before, is more of an alignment K-12 on a look to future focused and readiness for students. So yeah, what questions can we answer for you?
I'm sure there's lots of questions. Judah already has his hand up, but wait 1 second. Just want to say thank you so much for all of the information you just provided. That's amazing. Okay, go ahead, Judah.
Thank you so much. And just about Calc BC. So under the current standards, we're not offering BC. My understanding is because there's not enough students forecasting for it to offer that in the high school, but it sounds like this has an opportunity where there's a straightforward path where students could take Calc BC in the high school. If enough students are able to forecast for it, could it come back into the high school instead of going out to LBCC?
They put the mic in front of me, but money thing's a Lauren thing. So I can say there's definitely a straightforward pathway to get to Calc BC, and how that would be offered, I'm going to defer to leadership on that.
So what I would say is, right now we'll continue to refine and monitor the process, and next year we're focusing on our high school programming, and so I think we'll be looking at all of those types of options next year through our innovation team work for high schools. And so in this process of our designing, we've put everything on the table, and we've looked at all the different options and weighed those pros and cons for things. And so I think there's possibilities for lots of things, but high school planning is really kicking off next year. Some is starting this spring to get ready, but we'll be looking at high school programming next year.
I usually go last, but I just wanted to add on to Judah's on that. It's you pointed out the enrollment piece. So even if there was a path for it to come back, it would depend on student interest, right? And okay, but they still have the option now to take the class elsewhere, right?
Yeah, that's something that we looked at for this year and for next year. So if number of kids who forecast into it, and looking at partner organizations. So if we don't have enough students to run a class, are there opportunities at LBCC, at OSU, or are our students taking those classes? I think that's the piece that we want to continue to support students in their growth. And so but again, like a lot of classes, it comes down to forecasting, and at the same time, if kids are ready for it, we want to make sure to support them in doing it.
Other questions? Oh my gosh, everybody has questions. Why don't we just go ahead, Bernie, and then Therese, and then come this way. Everybody has questions.
Yeah, quick question. So it starts next year. What are you going to do about the 7th graders in the system right now? If this pathway starts.
We can both take this. So there are options. There's a lot more flexibility. So our current 7th graders could take Foundations of Algebra, Algebra 1, and the Foundations of Geometry in their 8th grade year and go into high school taking Algebra 1. They could stay on the standard pathway. That hasn't changed at all. Our current 6th graders could have an on-ramp to the accelerated pathway. Anything you want to add, Jared?
I don't think so.
I have a question, but first I just want to clarify. So the question was about whether for current 7th graders. So as I heard your answer, it sounds like there's no accelerated pathway for current 7th graders. The accelerated pathway will start with the current 6th graders.
Yes, the accelerated pathway skips 7th grade. So if they are currently in 7th grade, they cannot skip it. The current 6th graders will be the first one to be able to do that. Okay. So our current 7th graders can take the standard pathway or the enriched or enhanced pathway.
Okay, thank you for clarifying.
Yeah, and what I would add to that is to help with more entry points, we also have asynchronous classes that we've been working on. And so we'll be working through that process in our planning as well. So if there are students who are wanting, and the asynchronous classes that we're designing aren't bound by time and place necessarily, meaning it could be taken over a summer, it could be taken in the evenings, it could be taken however someone might choose. And so there could be more possible options if a student or family is wanting to choose that in 7th grade now as well.
Okay, thank you. I think that actually sets up what was my actual question, which was in the current handbook. So Calc BC doesn't show up in the current handbook for students, where if you follow I guess it's the standard pathway, or they'd be in the enhanced pathway, right? So if a student takes Algebra 1 as an 8th grader, then by the prerequisites outlined in the handbook currently, they can't get to Calc BC before they would graduate unless they figure out how to pick up an extra math class somewhere by the prereqs they're outlined. First of all, am I understanding that right?
Yes.
Okay. So then when we went to detracking middle school math, we that, if I understand, that's the point at which we know kids could no longer get geometry before high school, which is the reason why they couldn't get to Calc BC. So, okay, so then understanding this correctly, it sounds like we will now have a pathway where kids can get qualified for Calc BC. So I guess my question is just, at what point are we going to say it's our obligation to offer it and not to outsource it? If we're going to have a pathway for them to be able to get to it, how far out in the future before we're going to own saying we are going to figure out how to staff this class? That's my question. It might not be something you can actually answer right now, but that's my question.
I don't know that's a fair question to ask staff, because we can't predict if students want to take it. Because just because you're accelerated doesn't mean you even want to take that class later on, right?
Absolutely. They might not want to take it. I'm not really talking about I'm not so much talking about the forecasting piece, because we can't predict that. I'm talking about I don't know. I guess I'm saying that then I'll have a comment, not a question, is that if we aren't going to offer it in-house for even a small group of kids, then what are we going to do to address the equity issues of accessing it not in-house? Because I do think that's an issue. The families that I work with have kids who are very bright. They don't have the capacity to organize their households around getting to LBCC to take the class. And so it's not that I'm not really vested in, are we teaching it inside Corvallis High School, so much as I am vested in, are we maximizing access to the class for kids? And the current requirement to go outside the system might leave some kids not, if it can't be done during the school day, not able to do it. And so I guess that's really more of what I meant is, at some point, will we be able to say, we are going to figure out how, if a kid wants to do it, they're going to be able to do it with the constraints that might be true for them.
Thanks for that reframe, Therese. I think that's helpful thank you.
I would just kind of reiterate again, our focus right now has been on the 7th, 8th model. And we're starting, the first part of this starts in March with our high school teams. And then we'll be working through those pieces for high school. So I think around this time next year, you can expect to hear updates about our high school programming, or, as we move forward in those processes, to hear those updates throughout next year, what we're planning.
Thanks. And I want to acknowledge that my initial question sounded grumpy, but it's not. It's anticipation. It just didn't sound that way. So I want to make sure that what I'm hearing is, I think with geometry available earlier, we're going to see that more kids want to access that. And so it was really more about, this is really exciting. And so then, because we don't have to do it right now, it's not front and center in the thinking, because we really don't have the kids moving through to be able to do that. But then I think we will have kids moving through to do that. And so how will we be able to support them? So I did not mean for it to sound grumpy. I was really actually meaning to say, we're going to have an exciting thing. And I appreciate your honest answer, which is, we're not here to talk about that part right now. And that is always a totally fair answer. So I appreciate you saying that will come and you need to be patient. So thank you.
Thank you for your presentation and for being here this evening. My question is about the intervention classes for the middle school. Do we currently have classes that offer more that level?
Yes, so this is the first year that we have intervention classes at the middle school, and we have 2 classes at Linus Pauling that are run on trimesters. So students are in them for a trimester and then back out.
At Sheldon, we don't have trimester classes. We utilize our advisor time, and kids are pulled in to work on specific skills for 2 or 3 weeks at a time, and they're just removed from their advisor class for that time and able to get small group math instruction on specific skills that they need help with, and then they exit out back to their advisor and we get a new group of kids. So it's a lot more fluid than what's happening at Linus Pauling, but it's what we're able to do within our schedule and math teacher FTE.
That's great. I just had a high school teacher say to me, I wish you could get middle school intervention going in math. So I'll tell him I did a job well done, because here it is. Thank you, making me look good. But my other question is, so on that graph you showed where all the kids, their numbers in red, So are those kids automatically going to those, or will go to those intervention classes?
So at this year, students from that group were chosen to go into the intervention class based on which domains they were weakest in and which trimester they were teaching that domain. So if a student is very weak in fractions, they're going to go into this trimester. If a student was very weak in their algebraic operations and solving equations, they're going into this trimester so that they can be a discourse heavy focused classes instead of an independent study where everybody is in all different places.
Oh, awesome. Thank you.
Do any other board members have any burning questions, because we do have other presenters tonight? You're fine.
Have to.
Okay, Sammy, make sure it's yes, go ahead.
Thank you. So the
Go either, but
first,
it's fine.
sorry. The first question is, I want to narrow this down into.
Hold on, Sammy. Pick one question.
Oh, sorry.
Sammy, pick one question because we're running out of time and we have 2 more presentations with folk waiting.
What school board policies have we anticipate changing based on those updates? Is this a school board update, or is this a decision for the school board to make?
This is operational.
Yeah, just want to make sure we highlight that for the
Okay,
community.
thank you.
Thanks.
I see. Thank you. Go ahead, Shauna.
I'll just be quick. A lot of my questions have been answered already from other school board member questions, and I realize a lot of questions coming up for me now because of your very thorough presentation relate to 5th and 6th grade, so I'll hold those until you're back to talk about that in the next phase. But just wanted to thank you for just really listening to student feedback, family feedback, staff feedback, for folks who have been looking for and really thinking about what they'd like to see for their students' education in math. And this seems to be very responsive to those needs that have been brought up by the community over the last few years. So I'm excited about it. Thank you.
And I will save my questions for next time as well. But I did want to just say much appreciation for this. It's exciting to start seeing some of the changes that are coming ahead. And I wanted to say to y'all, thank you for listening to feedback from the community. I know this is something that you all are doing and that we're getting an update on. And to me, it sounds like you're listening to the community, both who need support to get there with math and also the community that needs more challenge for those kids that do need that. And you're trying to do your best, it looks like to me, with this new model that's coming in. So yes, go ahead.
So I just wanted to share out an invitation to the community. This coming Monday, we have a high school and college readiness math night where we have university and college professors coming to answer some questions on a panel about how parents and students can get ready to be successful in college, specifically in STEM, but also including humanities. So that's going to be at Crescent Valley High School Auditorium from 5 to 6 on Monday night. And I want to extend that invitation in light of engaging the community in our math discussions.
Thank you so much. Thank you all for your time this evening. Next item on the agenda is the Downtown Vitality Strategy Task Force update with Steve Clark. Your mic's not on. Hold on. There you go.
Superintendent Noss, thank you very much for having me. I know you're about an hour behind on your agenda. I'm going to try and expedite my comments. But before I do that, I'd like to, as a community member, I live in Southwest Corvallis. Thank you for the thoughtful way you deal with very complex issues and the very complete way you do it. Also, as I know you've taken note already tonight, the community comments and the presentation by your teachers today are extraordinarily thoughtful and really bring to us the ability to get better as a community and not only K-12 education but elsewhere. So thank you. So I am here tonight to briefly talk to you about the Downtown Vitality Strategy Task Force. I'm one of the co-chairs with Julie Manning. In some respects, I thank you folks and those who were on the board about a year and a half ago when I and another community member came to you to talk about how do we invest in strategic municipal investments buildings in downtown Corvallis. And you said, wait a minute, time out. Focus on some other things first, come back to us later as a community with opportunities to invest. Since then, not only took to note what you folks offered to us and about 800 other community members that we spoke with in a variety of ways, but we presented a report to the community and the city council that said that very thing. If we're going to improve what we provide for our municipal services, we better focus on improving downtown Corvallis first. And so the mayor and councilors took that to note, created yet another task force. Because I'm a little silly, maybe a little stupid, suggested that we have 40 members on that, including every city councilor. Lahui, thank you for being a member of that task force. And that work is underway and will be completed in early June with a series of very strategic recommendations that will be organized with some very definitive requirements of ourselves as a community, not just as a municipality, to improve downtown Corvallis' vitality, its safety, its environment, its housing, how we treat each other, transportation. So you received our PowerPoint. You received a set of 28 preliminary primary actions that our task force is considering. The task force is made of an executive committee, which Chair Whitebear is a member of, and 3 subcommittees that are dealing with infrastructure, the economy, and environment and safety. And it's those community members that have come up with this list of preliminary actions. You have that with you. If you have any suggestions tonight, I'll take note of which of these are your priorities. If you don't have time tonight, which I don't think you do, please look at these and give us your top 5. Circle number 1 and the remaining 4, give them to Kim, and I'll come back and get them at a different time. But what's really important, I think, to take note of today is that we're not just talking to you. We have a survey that's been responded to in the last 5 weeks by more than 1,100 people. We have taken note of the Corvallis Community Survey, which was completed last fall. We have more than 36 community outreach meetings that are being held this month. This is but one. And we're listening not only to ourselves as community members, but as Ryan and I have shared in a couple of meetings, we're listening to jurisdictions that have other roles than just, in the case of City of Corvallis, managing our community. The school board is one. And what we've talked about is the importance of collaboration, not just acting or operating or making decisions within, excuse me for saying this, the vacuum of K-12 education or Oregon State University or Benton County or the school, the city, but collaboratively dealing with issues of importance to this community. And we think downtown is one. And your involvement in helping us providing input will be extraordinarily valuable, but also taking note of as a community member and as an organization, saying to the community and our city council that the momentum we see in downtown that is occurring right now, greater interest, business people investing in things like holiday parades, lighting, improved buildings, is but the start. And if we're going to do more than that and provide for a more vital downtown that will bring a stronger economy, hopefully more people to Corvallis, more families, more taxes, not just paid by the people who live here now, but new folks, that will benefit not only the downtown, the school district, the city, the county, Lynn Benton Community College. So we're in this together. Your feedback, whether you can provide a little bit tonight, I'll take note of, but if you would look at these preliminary actions and over the next week, send them to Kim with what are your top 5. You can call me, 503-502-8217, or send me an email at osusteve1@gmail.com, and we'd love to have you part of the process to create a more vital, safe, and memorable downtown for all of Corvallis. Thank you.
Thank you, Steve. Does anybody have any questions or comments you'd like to offer at this time? We have time for feedback. No? Are you raising your hand or no?
I mean, kind of, yes. Like I have some, but I thought I wanted to make sure that people
Okay. Go ahead.
I want to thank you for putting this together. I really enjoyed getting to kind of see what you guys have been thinking about. And to your question about what would be the priorities, I was really encouraged on here to see public spaces as one of the things that you are thinking about prioritizing. And I really would just like to say I think that's one of the areas where it'd be really fantastic if we could offer more diverse kinds of public spaces. We have some public spaces, but what we can do in those spaces is maybe a little bit more restricted. And so having spaces where diverse kind of things can happen that are publicly available, I think would be really fantastic. And then I loved that you had housing on here as well. But I did want to just maybe add that maybe it's more of an intersection of housing and the economics of it, but there is some capacity for housing downtown. There's a whole lot of capacity for housing not downtown that could bring people to live here that would come downtown.
Right.
And so I'm hoping that part of the plan is also talking about how are we going to move along some of the processes that leave, well, Chris mentioned earlier, like the annexation processes, like they're so slow. And there's probably reasons that I don't understand for why they are, but that feels like something where this project of downtown would benefit if some of those other things were streamlined. So I hope that's part of, what you guys are talking about as a whole picture of Corvallis. But I really just really appreciated the public spaces being highlighted.
Thank you. Corvallis has a 50-year history of dealing with things slowly. And I think those things that you offered have a connection to what we're doing. They may actually lead to strategies in another form. Yes, we have bare land now that could be developed, city codes, and maybe a willingness for more economic development, more housing development. But it's really going to take a community strategy to launch those. And that will benefit a school district that relies on families of a childbearing age. Sorry for the crassness, but.
Any other comments from the board? Did Sammy have any? I can't see him. I did. Oh, you have. I was just go ahead. You go. Okay. I was just going to add. I don't know if the board noticed that safety includes things about having restrooms and trash and stuff like that, which I think sometimes gets left out of those conversations, and that will help with other areas that I don't know what happened to all the trash cans in town, like not just downtown but everywhere. But it's kind of frustrating. But so I appreciated that was in there, and I know I shared that, but I wanted to share it from in here too in our conversation. And I think if board members have other comments in addition to providing them to Steve, I go to the executive committee meetings as much as possible. So I'm always happy to bring. Okay, Sammy does have a question.
I will leave these with Kim. We also have postcards that, if Ryan would allow, they could be left at the front desk at schools or at the school district. They're both in English and in Spanish. Our website is moving to more accessibility. And so, we encourage your input, your teachers' input, and even students would welcome that.
Sammy has a question, and then Ryan had a comment or a question.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you, Stephen, Chair, for the involvement in the task force, and appreciate the ask for us to fill the priorities. One feedback I've heard from businesses and business owners in downtown is the access to city council and ability for them to share their feedback directly. And I'm wondering if there's any effort that has been going on to reach out to small business owners on First, Second, and Third Street.
So there's two forms of access, I guess. Physical access at city council meetings, which is somewhat limited, but then there's interpersonal engagement, and in our report we can offer leadership points of view which indicate that members of the community, possibly those downtown, would like to see more of their council.
Yes, thank you.
I vote for housing. And I know that the decisions that were made in the 70s are what put us firmly where we are today in the decisions we've had to make, or the board has had to make. And I think that this is not, as you said, this has been a 50-year slow process. And I think it is, as we've talked multiple times, it is the thing that concerns me most about the vitality of our community.
And I agree with you, and it's going to require the leverage of every organization, private sector and public sector, school board, city council, county commission, the university, to make a difference.
Steve, do you have thoughts on how folk in the community can help advocate for the housing part, or any of the other areas in there?
In respect to downtown, I think by filling out our survey, we have 1,100 responses.
Mm-hmm.
By coming to some of the meetings that we'll be at the League of Women Voters, we'll be at the Chamber tomorrow, and next end of the month, Leadership Corvallis, the co-op, to share their thoughts and to underline the importance of having housing and neighborhoods with kids at play.
Mm-hmm.
And laughter in our community, not
Mm-hmm.
just in meetings.
Mm-hmm.
But to the extent that folks would make that one of the requirements of ourselves, it can be a requirement of this report, but I think if we make it a requirement of ourselves, things will get done much more quickly than simply by a report.
Awesome. Thank you. And I think that's it. Thanks for your time, Steve. And
Thank
for
you.
the
I'll
work
give
on
these
this.
to Kim and appreciate your interest in our task force.
Mhm. Next on the agenda is transportation update. Angela, Shane, Becky, Kim.
So I'm going to go ahead and kick us off. I want to just thank you for the time to present this update. We were here last school year talking about the challenges we were facing in our transportation services department, and we've made some great progress that I wanted to be able to share more broadly. I have joining me today Becky Weeks, who is our district's transportation coordinator, so she does all of the liaising with our schools and with our transportation providers. And we've got STA staff leadership here to present. I'm going to let them introduce themselves because they're going to do the bulk of the presenting, but I just wanted to be here to answer any questions that you might have after the fact.
I'm Angela Taylor. I'm the operations manager for Corvallis School District.
I'm Autumn Thompson. I'm the safety supervisor for the STA company, Corvallis School District.
Shane Anderson Price. I'm the vice president of the regional operation and support the Oregon market.
Okay, so for those of you who were here when we were here last time, winter of 24-25, we faced some pretty significant challenges that year. And so we wanted to come back and talk about the progress that we've made since then. Biggies on the list were the on-time performance, significant delays, communication with families. We really struggled with the rollout of that My Ride K-12 app. And staffing. So the opportunity to rebuild the confidence that the community has in us, that was a pretty significant focus for us. And so if you want to go to the next slide, I'll start with the action items. So our driver pool and driver retention, we had a significant driver shortage last year. We always need bus drivers. So there's always some sort of a shortage. But last year we really struggled and we had to borrow resources from other locations. Communications with families, we had a lot of problems with the GPS feature on the My Ride app. It caused a lot of confusion. And we were still getting used to the communication process of the tool. And then on-time performance, we were late a lot and routes had to be combined. So we have, if you want to move to the next slide, focus on staffing and driver retention. So over last year, at this time, we had hired 13 drivers. As of right now, we've hired 19 drivers so far for the school year. 14 have already gone behind the wheel. We have a 40% increase in driver retention. And then our driver attendance is up 96% from 85% this time last year. Our recruiting efforts, so we did renew our contract for the billboard advertising that we've got over by our yard. I love the new graphic. I think it's very catchy, and we've gotten quite a few applicants reaching out who saw us through the billboard. Continuous recruiting efforts. So we are ongoing with online recruiting. We've had a very robust pool of candidates coming through the online portal. The recruiting out in the community kind of slows down over the winter season, but we've got substantial budget pocketed away for March. So at the beginning of March, we're going to hit the community hard. And then we had a pretty decent increase in our rates for this last school year. Also, we continued with the safety and attendance incentive, which is, for those of you that don't know, we do an extra $1 an hour for our drivers that show up on time every day for their shift. No accidents, no injuries. They get an extra $1 an hour for the hours that they work that week, and that's been hugely beneficial. I think that is evident by our driver attendance rate. Right now, we are also up 7 drivers from where we were last year, so that's a pretty big win as well. Moving on to the communication aspect. So one of the things that was a tough challenge for us was that GPS tracking. So we did some troubleshooting with the software company and determined that it's just not a feature that works well for our district based on how our routing structure is. And so we made the decision to shut down that feature and focus on the communication aspect of that tool, which was the intent initially anyways, was to take over that communication piece. We've seen an increase in ridership. So our student ridership is up to, on average, 1,370 students right now. We saw a big increase in parent registration for My Ride Communications. So we were very diligent in parents who were calling in, wanting to know where their students' bus were, have they registered for the app, and walking them through how to do that. So registration for the app, we're up 21%. The total is at 1,558 users. Given our ridership is at 1,370, that's telling us that we've got, you know, both parents registering for the app. We've got grandma and grandpa registering for the app. So we've gotten some really good traction there. The decrease in the number of delays that we've been having has decreased the number of outgoing My Ride communications that we've had to send by 23%. So last year, it was consistent. This year, we've been very happy with on-time performance progress, and that's evident in the number of communications we're sending out. The better communications have resulted in 37% less incoming calls, which is fabulous. And then one thing that we did add to this, because, you know, we can't communicate the delays if our drivers aren't communicating them to us. And so it's a frustration for us in the office when we have a parent calling in saying, hey, where's my kid's bus? And we radio the driver, and they're like, oh yeah, I'm 25 minutes down. Well, you're supposed to let us know at 10. We're supposed to let families know at 15. So we did implement disciplinary action for drivers not calling in their delays. And so that got fixed pretty quick. Let's see. One of the other things that's been very beneficial is the Google chat we do with the schools. So it speeds up the process when you're trying to reach the school and, you know, the phones are ringing and their office is busy and you can't reach someone. So the Google chat feature has been very beneficial. It's really kind of a one-way tool. And so we're able to blast that message off, and the response time is much quicker than what it had been. Moving on to the on-time performance. So just a quick highlight there, you can see in the top corner. So we started tracking our on-time performance in November of 2024, and we started out at 75% on time. So you can see the evolution of our progress up to where December we were 94%, and January we're at 92%. Of the delays for this school year, 25-26, 84% of those were not at fault. So they were outside of our control, whether it be student management issues, delays at the school, parents not being at the stop to receive their students. So we're really happy with that percentage as well. One of the big focuses was on our accidents. So our accident frequency rate was a little above what our goal is for the year last year. And so we really took a look at what we can do to bring that number down, less accidents, less delays. And so we looked at enhancing our training program, creating sort of a skills course in our yard. So every day when drivers come back from their route, they're having to get that daily practice going through that course. So our frequency rate is down from 3.3% last year to 1.4% right now this year. So that's a big win for us as well. We did made some changes to the middle school bell schedule. One of the challenges we were having was not having enough time to drop off at that elementary school and then get into the middle school route on time to get students there on time. So that slight shift by 10 minutes made a substantial difference in those middle school kids getting to school on time for breakfast. We added a couple different routes to alleviate some of the capacity issues and ride times. I can speak to some of those in Southtown. Southtown and CMS we had some significant issues with. We did add Route 23 in November, which helped with capacity for Adams and for Linus Pauling, dropping Adams down from 58 on the bus to 29, for Linus Pauling dropping capacity from 59 down to 44. We also moved Route 32 into a transit bus in October. And then we added an additional route again this month to help with some capacity issues and timing on one of our Mountain View and CV routes. We also improved the turnaround time when we're implementing route changes. So, one of the things that's key is that when we're determining that there is an issue with the route's too long, we need to make some changes to it, we need to add stops to it, whatever that may be. Previously, it had been taking us, 2 to 3 weeks before we could start communicating that out to families and getting that posted out on the website. I would say now our turnaround time is closer to around a week. So we've been able to pull that in, and I think that that's made a big difference for families as well. And anything else? Those are my highlights. You guys have any questions?
We always have questions. Bernie?
Yeah, I'm just wondering, do you incorporate parent feedback or rider feedback apparatus, like a survey or something? And if you do, what are the results so far? What is that telling you?
We haven't, but we have spoken with the district about potentially collaborating on something, because it would be good to know, what the community's feedback is, because we can look at some of these numbers and say, yes, but, what are the reasons that we're not getting as many phone calls? Are families seeing the difference in the on-time performance? Their students are getting there in time for breakfast. So I think there's a good opportunity for us to collect that feedback.
Yeah, I really encourage you to explore that.
Yeah.
Other questions? Let's see. Does Sammy have any? Okay. Other questions? Okay, I had questions too, but go ahead if you have more things. Or is it the wrap-up thing you wanted to add?
I'll do a wrap-up. You go ahead.
Okay. I had a question about, we get sometimes emails about behavior on buses. So I'm kind of curious about training for bus drivers on handling behavior issues on the bus. Like what happens with that?
Yeah. What's up, Becky?
Hi, I'm Becky Weeks, Transportation Coordinator. So when we have behavior management issues on the bus, we do a training in August with all the bus drivers, including Dial-A-Bus, who we are also contracted with. And we go over a lot of PBIS driver strategies at that meeting. And then we meet again in the spring and kind of go over some other things with trying to capture some of the drivers that have come on since that initial meeting in August. Also, I have 23 years in as a behavior specialist for the school district. So I have some things in my bag of tricks that I can share with them, and that's been really helpful. We also do monthly bus driver meetings at the schools, so we can go over some of the issues that they're having on the buses, some strategies that might be working in the school that we can share with the drivers. So there's a lot of collaborative work with the schools around that.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, that's helpful to know. Oh yeah, go ahead.
And then there's instances where we add in a second adult
Yes.
as well in certain circumstances, either for a short period of time or more of a long period of time.
We definitely learned a few years ago that we had great benefit in having riders during the first 2 weeks of school, just to establish expectations for behavior on the bus. And by doing that, we have also been able to call those riders back when we see that we're having struggles on a particular route, so that it's that second school employed adult who's helping the driver by modeling strategies and by just setting behavior expectations on the bus.
Great, thank you. And that's great to see the on-time performance increases. I know that was a big concern. The buses are so on time that my daughter has missed it because she thought it was going to be late. And so she didn't go early enough, so she got a ride to school, don't worry. But yeah, it's been noticeable, so thank you for that. Did you have something you want? Oh, go ahead, Therese. Okay.
So related to the parent communication, and this is maybe more of a district question, but what is the strategy for communicating with parents if they don't have a reliable method of real-time communication? Like they don't have a phone, or their cell phone is not operational right now, and you're needing to reach them. How does the district approach connecting with those families for whatever they might need to communicate about?
So we rely on our school staff, because when those situations occur, our school staff almost always knows how to get a hold of a parent. And so they are our front line with parents. And so that's really where we would lean in. One of those things that Angie talked about was the Google Chat. It's a simple tool through Google, and we're pushing messages out that school staff get right away. And when we have a family that is in a situation like that, there's typically some knowledge ahead of time, and we'll reach out to the office.
And then to clarify then, so for the bus drivers, your point of communication would be the school contact? Not, do you communicate directly with parents?
We do communicate directly with parents.
Okay.
So we push out communications through the MyRide app for all of our gen ed routes and for the special needs individual transportation routes. We also follow up phone calls to the families of those that are on the individual transportation routes, just as a kind of backup, since those kids are on more specialized schedules.
Okay. And then for behavioral needs, does that go through their, like a primary contact with the school district, or do bus drivers get involved in that?
So for behavioral needs, our bus drivers have incident reports that they fill out. So they'll come back and they'll write down the incident, what happened, which students were involved, and then I input those into the system for Becky to then forward to the schools, and then they address those with the families and the student. And then they'll often collaborate with the drivers on what needs to be done with the students.
Yeah, I appreciate understanding the flow of that communication. Thanks.
Mm-hmm.
Kim, you had something you wanted to wrap up with?
I just wanted to say that I really think it's important for our community to hear that we're making good progress. We want to provide reliable transportation for all students in our community, and we're committed to that. And so if anybody in our community has questions or specific needs, for them to contact our office, because we are truly trying to do what's right for kids and making those changes.
Thank you, Kim, and thanks to everybody for your work. I know we'll hear more updates. I know a lot of people in the community, including in-board, have questions about support for next year, but we're not there yet. So, yes, but thank you all for supporting that as well for next year. Okay. Next on the agenda is school calendar changes, and Nikki McFarland is available if board members have questions about the change to the calendar. Any questions from the board? Oh, we do have questions from the board. I was right. We do even about the calendar. Okay. Chris and Shauna have questions. I don't know who wants to go first between you two.
Hi, Nikki.
Hello.
So my first question, so I noticed that a shift for next year is to start school before Labor Day when traditionally it's been started after. Could you talk to us a little bit about the rationale for that shift or... Oh.
Yeah, that was
We've already
that
approved
shift
that
was
change.
approved last
Never
year. I
mind.
just wanted to highlight it
see.
again because for our community, it is
you.
a shift in the start of the school year. And I've looked ahead, I think, 10 years. And it just seems like our practice will be to start on the first Wednesday of September. And there's always a couple of years when that is before Labor Day, and then it switches back to our regular pattern. So rather than thinking about the first day of school being after Labor Day, people should think the first Wednesday in September. But that was already approved last year.
Thank you for clarifying. It came up recently as in another conversation, and I knew I'd had the conversation, and I just didn't remember if we'd brought it to the boardroom. So I appreciate that.
Do you want to include the rationale as to why the kind of the bookending of Juneteenth at the other end of the school year?
Yeah, I mean, when I started working on the calendar, I thought this really can't be that hard. But it really is to look at 191 certified work calendar. And then we also have to look at all the student days that ensure that we get all of the instructional hours. We also have paid holidays in there. And when you put all that together, and when there is the possibility of snow days, we start to bump up against the Juneteenth holiday. And so starting early in September ensures that we wouldn't have like some snow days that we're having to make up and then have a Juneteenth holiday and then come back again after that. It just, what we know from our community is continuity in student learning and 5-day learning week, 5-day learning weeks, I think that's right, are what work best for kids and families.
Thank you for being here. The 12/4 and the December 4th and the March 12th dates that we changed, were those PD days?
Yes.
Scheduled PD?
So those were scheduled, they were scheduled PD days for high school and elementary school, and they were grading days at the middle school because they were the days between trimesters. And so now those days have been added to the conference days, and that will allow teachers and administrators to engage in inquiry with their peers and collaborate around how to improve instruction. Like having just had those conversations with families, it makes sense then to have the PD right then and say, okay, what did we learn? What are we going to adjust, and be able to adapt their practice based on the learnings from conferences.
And so I'm assuming like teachers were a part of this change, and that's because it sounds like the change was made to for us to have more 5-day school day weeks. And so I just want to make sure our teachers are also okay with taking away a PD day.
Oh, there will still be a professional development day. It's just scheduled on those new 2 days that were
Next to the
highlighted.
conference.
Yeah, well, I think it will be on the Friday. So we haven't done our workday calendars yet, but 2 days of conferences and then the professional learning on the Friday. So they don't lose the professional learning. It's just scheduled onto 2 different days.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions from the board or discussion? If anybody wants to make a motion, you're welcome to as well, if we're done with questions.
I move to approve the 26-27 school year calendar adjustments.
Second.
It's moved by Therese, seconded by Judah. Is there any further discussions? Okay, it has been moved by Therese and seconded by Judah to approve the 2026 to 2027 school year calendar adjustments. Judah?
Aye.
Chris?
Aye.
Shauna?
Aye.
Therese?
Aye.
Bernie?
Aye.
Sammy? Is there a he said yeah? Sammy?
Can you hear me?
Yeah, okay, now we can.
Aye.
Thank you.
I vote aye. Sorry.
That's okay. And I vote aye. Motion passes. Thanks, Nikki.
You're welcome. And then just so people know, I am working on the next year's calendar, which we have not yet approved, but we are starting to get questions about. So I'll get that in front of you soon.
2 years out. Yeah, yeah, because this is the one for next year. Yes. Okay. Yes. Thank you. Next on the agenda is the fall 2025 revision, the Lynn Benton Lincoln Education Service District 2025 to 2027 local service plan. Do we have some discussion on this? Any questions? We don't have anybody answer questions. So
I can.
Ryan can answer questions if we have questions. I just wanted to make sure the community understands the importance of our partnership with the LBL. A lot of people don't know what that is. The ESD, I mean the LBL, ESD. There's a lot of acronyms. And so if you see ESD, that's what that is. And Ryan, can you just like really fast, like what the main services they provide?
Yeah, so the ESD, the intention of an education service district is to provide services across the region for districts that are not able to basically find and recruit and retain staff to do specific jobs. So like an AugComm specialist, someone who helps students with augmentative communication. A small district in our region like Alsea and Monroe would not have the need for a full-time position, nor could they acquire a .1 to be able to pull off that service for kids. So an ESD is designed to be a service provider regionally. And so each year we review the local service plan. Every 2 years it gets readopted, and it takes the votes of superintendents across our ESD region, and then individual school boards to approve it. Services come in Tier 1 and Tier 2. Tier 1 services are services that we all agree that we need across all of those districts. So an example of that is our student information system, or Synergy. All districts decided to utilize that, and so our dollars flow from the state to the ESD and pay for those services. Beyond those services, districts, based on the number of students that they serve, also receive what's called Tier 2 dollars. Those can be used a la carte, so they can be used for a service that we need locally, like we use some of our Tier 2 dollars to add school psychologist time to do student evaluations. There are also instances where the ESD doesn't provide a service, and if they don't provide a service, then we can utilize some of those Tier 2 dollars in order to acquire that specific resource that we need. An example of that is our health navigators, which are half funded by the county, half funded by the school district through those Tier 2 dollars. So that's the overall structure of ESDs and how they support the work that we do here in Corvallis. Jason typically attends one board meeting a year. I think he's coming to one perhaps in March. But they also provide our early childhood special education services. So again, they're a good partner and a really important resource for small districts in our region.
And they help provide the assessments for special ed too, right?
Yeah, they typically either they do an in-center evaluation as an ESD staff member. Other service evaluations provided by school psychologists, or sometimes those purchase services by the district, but they are we don't have our own school psychologists. We utilize the ESD for that service.
Thanks. I think it's just really helpful to have like that recap, especially for folk who may not be as familiar, and also because we're going to be voting on something.
Yeah.
Yeah. If there's no more comments or questions, I'd be happy to entertain a motion.
I move to affirm the resolution adopting the fall 2025 revision of the LBL ESD 2025 to 2027 local service plan.
Second.
It's been moved by Bernie and seconded by Shauna. Is there any further discussion? Okay. It's been moved by Bernie and seconded by Shauna to affirm the resolution adopting the fall 2025 revision of the LBL ESD 2025 to 2027 local service plan. Judah?
Aye.
Chris?
Aye.
Shauna?
Aye.
Therese?
Aye.
Bernie?
Aye.
Sammy?
Aye.
And I vote aye. Motion passes. Next item on the agenda is consolidated action. As a reminder, the items under this portion of the agenda are for action. Does anyone have any questions about anything in the consolidated action? I see none yet. Does he have any? Okay. If there's no questions about anything in there, anyone can make a motion.
I move to adopt the items under consolidated action as proposed.
Second.
As submitted.
Second.
Okay, it's been moved by Judah and seconded by Chris. Any further discussion? It's been moved by Judah and seconded by Chris to adopt the consolidated action items as submitted. Judah?
Aye.
Chris?
Aye.
Shauna?
Aye.
Therese?
Aye.
Bernie?
Aye.
Sammy?
Aye.
And I vote aye. Motion passes. The next item on the agenda is consolidated information. As a reminder, the items under this portion of the agenda are for discussion. Would anyone like to discuss an item in consolidated information? Okay, I hear nobody. No hand raised over there?
I had something, but I can't remember what it is, so this is going to be a first.
I know, this is amazing. Okay. No, we're
Is it
good.
too late to
Okay,
raise my
I
hand?
gave it enough time. The next. It's the
Sorry.
time delay.
So the last page on the packet, the virtual charter schools, I just have a very quick question, if that's okay.
You have the floor.
Thank you. So my question is, if there is the percentage that's been highlighted in green, just to make sure that's clear, it says 2.35% of our student population, or 174 students residing in the district enrolled in virtual public charter schools, not located in the boundary. Could I have a little bit better explanation? What does that mean? And are we under the limit, still under the limit or the cap of 3%?
Yeah, I will. Yeah, it means that 174 students have chosen to go to a virtual charter school, and that the calculation number in the policy that everyone just passed in action for LBEA, the limit is 3%. At 3%, we can tell students who would like to transfer out to a virtual charter school that they cannot if our percentage is over 3. We've not gotten to over 3 before, and so this is a required report to our board from ODE, and so that's why you're seeing it twice a year.
Thank you. If I may follow up, Melissa, when I look at these numbers, I have 15% or a little bit more than 15% students surveyed who will go to private schools, and active homeschooling about 2.7%. I heard it's characterized in multiple ways. Some people say it's a number that's flat. Some people say those droves of students are leaving our district. How would you characterize it as a trend over the last few years? Is this increasing dramatically, steady, or decreasing?
Ryan always likes to bring out his numbers when it comes to this. We know homeschool numbers are the same as they were pre-pandemic. I also want to point out that students enrolled in private schools located within the district, those are not necessarily Corvallis School District students. That's the total number of students enrolled in private schools that exist within Corvallis. So it's a funny number to kind of look at, because we don't have the specific number of students who would be Corvallis School District students in those schools. We just know how many students are attending private schools in the city. So, are you looking for numbers right now? He's looking for numbers as far as trends are concerned, but we do track that annually because our title budget, so Title I, Title II, all of those budgets from the federal government that come to us, we have to give a portion of those budgets to the private schools based on the number of students that they have enrolled. So that's how we know that number. And again, that's a total number. Those students might not be Corvallis School District students, but they're attending Ashbrook or Zion or Sandiam Christian.
Wonderful. Thank you so much.
So we looked at this this report based on the last report we had from last year, and there are 13 fewer students enrolled in public charter schools now versus last year, 23 less residing in the district enrolled in public virtual charters, 43 less in homeschooling than last year, and 49 less in private schools than last year. So we look at this twice a year, and Kim and I just did a quick sketch. That's based on numbers, not percentages, but we did sit down and do that just the other day in case that question did arise.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. That's very helpful.
Thanks, Sammy. So the number went down in those areas. That's what you're saying?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions on consolidation information?
And just for the data points, just because they are sometimes hard to track, it's out of these reports on the virtual charter school enrollment. This one's the February 5th for this meeting, and we looked at the one that was from June.
June 25?
Yeah.
Okay, so if anybody needed that. Okay,
Yeah.
thanks. Okay, next item on the agenda is board member comments. Do any board members have any comments? Go ahead, Chris.
I wanted to thank Lou and Sammy for going to Washington, D.C. Sammy was there too, correct? I thought I saw that. Again, I'll say this, that I don't think our community always realizes how much time and energy this board does, and especially Lou and Sammy, on advocating for our kids and going to Washington, D.C. to do that, and to learn how to be better advocates, and then sharing that with us. And I just really want to appreciate and show gratitude to the two of you for taking all that time. I know you weren't paid to do that, and it's time away from your family and from your job, and but yet you're doing that for our students. So I thank you, and sharing the wealth of information that you have, sharing that with us and help us be better advocates as well. I wanted to give a shout out also to Kelly for the social media posts you've been doing. They're very enjoyable and really showcasing what our students are doing and the great work our staff is doing. And then I wanted to also comment on the presentation or the public testimony from our special ed teacher, Christina, on the bias incident. Is that something we can do to work on with the, especially the staff concerns that she had?
So I'm trying to think about how to frame it all. She's correct. In the collective bargaining agreement, the information about bias incidents in staff are that we need to follow the same pattern that we follow with complaints. And that has to do with the fact that bias incidents start as an educational opportunity, and that educational opportunity can, if it happens again and again, can become disciplinary with our kids, and the same could be true with our staff. Staff are given opportunities to understand impact, to learn more about what their words, how their words kind of impact students. The piece I haven't heard before was her request for notification of parents when something like that happens. So I wrote that one down, and as far as what you could do, it would be asking us to take a look at the AR and adjust things, but we'd also need to have a conversation with our unions as well, because we have staff who obviously are protected by unions, and this would impact. So yes, you could have a hand in it, and it would be a process.
Thank you. Then I would like to ask that we look at the AR and look at that process.
That language came up last time we went through collective bargaining, and again, we're getting ready to start that.
Thanks.
Did you have your hand up, Shauna?
Thank you. And I'll echo Chris's thanks to you and to Sammy as well. And also just want to point out to community, I think that that trip was not funded by the school district, that you were there on scholarship and with probably personal funds as well. So
Yes.
really appreciate you
And
being
Sammy's
there.
is paid for through NSBA because he serves on that board. Yeah.
So thank you both for that advocacy work, for that learning, and for bringing that back, as Chris shared as well. A couple of things came up for me during public comment. As always, really appreciated folks coming and reaching out to us in this way, in one of many different ways that folks do reach out to us on the school board, and to be able to hear from a range of voices tonight with a lot of different issues. I have lots of notes that I'll take a look back over and think through things to bring back for future board comment as well. But one thing that is really standing out to me is we're getting a lot of just emails and public comment tonight, as well as other nights, around concerns with lead in the water at Mountain View. And I know after the last meeting, Ryan, you shared with us the report that had come out, as well as information on what the district is doing to really ensure safety, because this is a really critical issue. And I'm wondering about where that information is being shared out with the public, or where they can access it to see what is the district's plan, how is that being monitored, how is safety being ensured in the water for students and staff and families.
We've asked our environmental engineer to provide us with an update that we can share with the community, and we're just waiting to receive that.
Thank you.
Therese?
Along the lines of the sharing the reports, I've had a number of folks ask about when their school is scheduled to be tested, and I know we have a schedule, and so I was wondering if that's information that we can share so that it's very easy for parents to be able to look and see what the timeline is for their specific school.
Kim took a note on that.
Okay, great. I also was really appreciative of some of the public comment this evening, and I'm always appreciate how it brings up things that I don't necessarily think to ask about. This evening, one that stood out to me is elementary music, and I know that we're going to be having some updates, and so I'm really hoping that when we hear from the innovation team around elementary education, that we're going to hear kind of a plan for what how elementary music might look in the upcoming year. And I'm also hoping that we'll be able to hear soon about any potential changes or updates regarding library techs and their time in the buildings. So that's something else I just want to put out there. And then lastly, I wanted to thank, well, Lou, I'm going to thank you, but not for going to Washington, D.C., but that's also good. I just didn't think of that one myself. I wanted to thank you because something that I have observed in our meetings that I really appreciate is that a lot of things get said in, alphabet soup land that there's really no reason why anybody would know it. And I just want to acknowledge how many times in a meeting you pause and ask us to take a minute and explain what we're talking about so that the folks, the dedicated folks out there who do come or listen to these meetings can follow that. It's really easy to just get pulled in and just, think, oh, well, yeah, everybody knows this. And then they don't necessarily know it. And so I'm just appreciative of that. I still hear language in these meetings that I'm not 100% sure what it is. And it's sometimes uncomfortable to say, what are you talking about? What is that? So I'm just grateful for that. And I think that, that's a pattern within our board, but I hope it's one that we continue because I do think it helps with communication. But in particular, you bring a lot of leadership to that. And I wanted to take a moment and acknowledge that.
Bernie?
Yeah, thank you for advocating for us all the time, but what I want to do is talk to the community. In the past couple of months, I've been getting a lot of emails and direct correspondence from you guys pointing out a number of issues, and I really respect your positions and your candor in speaking out, and I think keep that coming, keep the dialogue coming, because otherwise we won't I won't understand all the positions out there. So tonight we heard our presentation on math, and a lot of my correspondence in the last couple of weeks involved math. So I encourage people to write to us, tell us what you think about this presentation today, and we need some feedback.
Thanks, Bernie. Any other board comments? Judah?
Just really quickly, I am thankful to board leadership for agreeing to move to be reading literature on disability justice. It's an issue I'm very passionate about, and hopefully I'm hoping that we can be expanding our group knowledge base and perspective on that. And on that front, a lot of times when I'm hearing us talk about all of our schools, we're naming all the kids in high school or all the kids in middle school, that we're not naming Bridges as being a school that are, especially, I don't think they have any elementary schoolers right now, but our high schoolers and middle schoolers are attending, and I'd really like us to be mindful about making sure that they're always included.
Thanks, Judah. Okay, as I wanted to allow that time pause because I know that, is there anything online or no? Okay. I just wanted to also mention that I appreciate that there's going to be an update on the webpage itself, or at least communication about the lead in the water test, since a lot has changed since that came out, and I hope that community understands that Kim and her team takes that really seriously, and it is a very concerning issue and very serious issue that was mitigated right away. And so I know people are still contacting us about it, but there have been steps, and I have responded to folk about that as well. And I just wanted to update the board too that with our resolution that we passed for the rights of undocumented students, that I've been in communication with OSBA about policy perhaps with that, and also and they are waiting and seeing if something passes at the state level, even though it's not the same thing because that's about communication. So with that bill being introduced, it's a little bit different than what our resolution is, but they want to wait on that. So I just wanted to update you on that. I actually was sitting in a little tiny phone booth all the way over there, calling into a meeting on that bill as well, even though I didn't get to talk. So that was sad because I sat in there for like an hour, but it's fine. It was a good experience. But I just wanted to update the board on that part too, since that was something we also discussed. And thank you for folk that are hanging out with us this evening and watching online. And the meeting is adjourned at 9:23 p.m. Have a good night.